I'm here to talk about being an atheist. At first, I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want my family to know, and I didn't want my church to know because I felt like I would be, I guess you could say, committing social suicide. I'm black and I'm a female, so for whatever reasons, it's a marginal thing to not be religious if you're black in your community. And so I really just didn't want to face the rejection. Also, I didn't want to talk about it because, I'm 30 years old and I had to live back at home for, economic reasons. And my parents are, you know, really devout in the church and they're leaders in the church. And so, I have a lot of pressure that I feel to represent, my family, especially since my particular congregation believes that in order to be leaders in the church, you have to have your entire household in order. Um, I do feel the pressure, and I used to ask, forward progressive questions in Bible class, but now as an adult, because I've been going to that church since I was like 11 years old, and I was heavily indoctrinated. And the particular congregation is a place that doesn't believe that other Christians are right. So I was doubly indoctrinated. One, to be a Christian, and then two, to believe that I was a part of a small select group of Christians that were the only ones going to heaven. So, I also preached that doctrine. It became part of my identity and whatnot. And my entire social network is constructed of people who are of that like mind, even to this day. So having people in my life that are not of that like mind, it is an awkward feeling when the two worlds collide, because there's just a lot of compartmentalization that you have to go through to even believe these types of fundamental beliefs. You have to compartmentalize people, a period, and how you think of them and how you think of yourself and how you think of life. So, I've always been really, forward thinking and artistic, and I have great critical thinking skills. And I didn't think that that was important. I didn't think you need to be smart just to realize that if something's not there, it's not real. But, after years of indoctrination, you can just come to believe just about anything. So, 80% of the world believes in like supernatural God and they're religious. Um, you know, Basically, I just sort of lost my confidence in reality. I lost everything because I was trying to base my sense of judgment on like a book. And when life happened, it just didn't fit. So I made poor choices in life, because I lost my sense of I think perspective on reality and judgment, because it was all based on something fake, which is a really, unreal religion. And so, I just didn't do wise things. And then, when I came back home after I lost everything, I had to humble myself and pretend to get along so that I could have a social life and some support with people who would only accept me if I was a member of their brotherhood or sisterhood. So, I decided to make this video because, maybe being 30, it's just time to get real. it's time to stand up and just say, I'm ready to lose. I'm ready to pay the cost to be the boss. I don't believe in no imaginary nothing anymore. And I think it's really wrong to believe in something just because you were raised to think that way since you were a kid. I think it's poor, you know, critical thinking skills. I think it's just a really, more morally depraved way to be, to just accept something because your culture does it, or because your parents taught you, or because it feels good. And all those things are not good moral judgments, which is the reason why Christians are and religious people are very emotionally hurtful towards other people, because they have basically a lack of basic moral judgment, which they don't see that because they look at life through a little bubble. So, I never was a part of that bubble, and I'm always pissing people off in Bible class. But I think for myself. And it was when I realized that I think for myself, is that I realized I was an atheist. I didn't choose to be an atheist. I don't have any preconceived ideas about atheists because I'm too smart for that. You know, I don't label people. I don't even need to have a label. I just realized that, thinking for yourself pretty much makes you an atheist, because a theist is somebody who believes in things without any proof. So therefore, they're not thinking for themselves. So, a lot of people need that. They need to believe in God. They need to, or they can't handle reality. And 80% of the world can't handle reality, but that's okay, because, this planet is really scientifically proven that this planet is gonna basically burn itself out anyway. So, we don't need that many people to be very smart, because people, we're just transient beings anyway. But those of us that have evolved to a higher level of consciousness, it's really amazing to be in this world with the rest of you guys, because it's like the things that are so like easy for me to see, like I'm just like, you guys didn't figure that out yet. Like, the belief I come from, how they claim they're the only true people, yet they were just as involved in segregation back during racism as everybody else was. I'm like, if you were the only true church, how come you didn't stand up and fight the fight against racism? Why were you just as segregated? It just seems like duh questions to me that nobody wants to answer. It's just like, you get it, but you're acting like you don't get it, or maybe you really don't get it. That you don't need to believe in something that just because you were taught, you can't understand that what you put in a child's mind, and you take away their freedom to choose. I'm just like, are you really that slow? But yeah, people are that slow. People pretty much, they don't get those simple things, which is why I feel like, a small fraction of us have evolved. So, you know yeah, it's hard or whatever, but life's hard anyway, so you might as well keep it real while life is hard. Like, I basically stood up at church and just, basically let people know, kept it real, that, I'm a logical person and I can't accept things on blind faith. And I feel like they had no choice but to respect me, because I was being real, and I let them know why I enjoy church. I like the positive aspects for having church community in my life, but there are other communities that are just as positive. But I already have a positive community, so why change? Eventually, I'm going to find a better suited community for me anyway, but there's no need to run away right now. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and keep it real. So, yeah, that took a lot of courage or whatever, but it felt really good. So to just be me in the place where I was, and not and because I'm an understanding person too, I didn't hate on them, I didn't offend them, you know, because there's no need, people people gonna believe in Santa. People believe in Santa Claus and lie to their kids and think that's okay. So what? What's the energy of being mad at everybody for? Just do you. Like, I'm just doing me. So, my videos ain't gonna be all about anger and fighting and all that. It's just gonna be about keeping it real, so somebody else out there can understand that they ain't alone.